Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian from Malmen Air Base in Linköping, Sweden, where we're covering the 90th anniversary of the Swedish Air Force. Our trip here was sponsored by Saab, and we are honored now to speak to the Supreme Commander of Sweden's Armed Forces, General Micael Bydén, who was the former Swedish Air Chief. Sir, great seeing you today.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me today. It's a long time no see.
It's an honor. We got a chance to see each other in Washington, and this conference 4 years ago was really eye-opening on a number of levels. Security situation is very different today than it was in 2012. Obviously, you were grappling with that as Chief of the Swedish Air Force. Obviously, the rising threat. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden. We were joking. Could be a relative at a certain level. Was in Stockholm, and he had an unequivocal message that he delivered to Vladimir Putin, which was, Sweden is a sovereign nation; its territory is inviolate. Period. End of story. The United States does have a strategic agreement now, defense cooperation agreement with the United States. Talk to us a little bit about the threat situation as you see it as the Supreme Commander, and the importance of this US-Swedish strategic cooperation.
Yeah. Starting with the situation, you mentioned it is complex, and over the last year it's going in the wrong direction. It's of course what drives this for Sweden is Russia. Of course, we follow Russia closely. What they are doing, we have done so over the years, but it's not only Russia. You need to see it in a broader context. The near surroundings and the surroundings with everything that has happened. I mean the conflicts, Syria, Iraq, the migration flows. The terrorist attack just only over this summer. It's so clear that things are going in the wrong direction. And then it's Russia's behavior, the illegal annexation of Crimea, the operations still going on in eastern Ukraine. So it is demanding, and also the threats when it comes to hybrid threats, a way of doing operations to create misunderstandings or uncertainties. It's really hard to meet. For us, building our security policy together with others, meaning that we are prepared to help or support when another country would be in a need, but also then being able to receive support. Countries around the Baltics, the Nordic countries first, the other countries, organizations like UN, like EU, and not least NATO, to get access to the exercises, not least to develop. But the transatlantic link needs to be strong, not only for Sweden, but for Europe. But talking about Sweden, we have had a very close relation over the years, not least in the area of research and development, technology. We've been one of the few countries being able to deliver military equipment and systems of high technical level. And today, I would say that our relation is even more important, and we do it via an agreement. We do it quite often when it comes to training, exercises, but also we operate for real together. Right now, Iraq would be the clear example where we have joined the coalition. So this is important to us.
What are some of the things that Russia is doing specifically that you find most concerning? Obviously, there was the submarine incursion last year, or the suspected incursion that was suspected to be a submarine that was in the Swedish archipelago. What are some of the specific things that Russia is doing that are then in turn driving some things that you're doing to improve your capabilities?
I would go back to the annexation of Crimea and the operations in Ukraine, because that it's so clear that they don't follow international law, rules and regulations. They are able to just do things when the opportunity is there, and it's really hard to understand what their aims and goals are. They have shown over the years now that they put a lot of economy into defense. They have clear ambitions. They have shown that they are able to and they are ready to use their military force to reach their political aims and goals. And by this, of course, it's very interesting to follow. If you go more on a local level and what we see over the Baltics, it's more the behavior that we have been worried about. And I have expressed it before. I mean, behaviors like flying close to SIGINT aircraft, very aggressive maneuvering, flying with SIGINT aircraft, not squawking, not being visible in aerospace with a lot of civil traffic. It's just stupid and it's dangerous. And an incident like that could cause something else. It could escalate. The assessment in Sweden, the Swedish armed forces, is still there. An armed attack, an isolated armed military attack against Sweden is not likely. But when we look about what is happening right now, behaviors, more military presence, this could cause something that could escalate, and that's something we really look very careful at.
Do you, are you concerned that given this state of uncertainty, Russia has always tried to take advantage of that in moments of uncertainty to, whether to escalate in Ukraine, with the British exit, the refugee crisis, what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Iraq. Do you think that there has to be even a higher degree of vigilance? You know, some people look at the US presidential election also as being a distraction. Do you think that everybody in this region and in Europe has to be even more on their game in this period, that Russia could take advantage to try to pull something, as some fear could happen?
Yes, of course. And when I look at my own country, it's what is happening right now. It's not only a matter or a question or a task for the armed forces. We don't have all the assets needed or the knowledge or the competence, or maybe we're not at the right time to be able to understand when we have an incident where things are happening. It's more like to understand it. It's more like to translate what is happening right now and how things are how they glue together. The examples you mentioned, just put them on the table and start to see the dynamics of it. So for us, this is a task, or it's something that the whole society needs to be aware of. To worry would be to say too much, but at least to be aware, try to understand, follow what's in media, being critical towards what is reporting, where does the information come from, and what is this? And together, within country, between agencies and civil society, between neighboring countries, partners, organizations, I think we are in a better shape to be able to understand what is happening and then act towards it.
Your budget is going to increase by 10 billion krona over the next 10 years, which is a significant budget increase. But obviously, the nation also has other challenges to face with. There's a refugee, Vice President Biden complimented Sweden on punching well above its weight by taking in more than 160,000 refugees just in the past year. And there will be costs that will be associated with that. But even though, with the budget increase that's happening, what are your top program priorities for that extra money, whether it's air, land, or sea?
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning it, because the situation is we entered the new defense decision period this year, 2016 to 2020, 5 years. We see the break of trends, meaning we receive more economy, meaning some more people, but not least more equipment and more exercises. All wartime units are now supposed to be trained and exercised. I need to reach a higher level of operations in all services whatsoever. This is very positive. When it comes to the discussions, the dialogue before the decision was very deep, very comprehensive. we met a lot of understanding, and the increase now met part of what the armed forces need to reach the level we think, or we wished, or we said this is what to meet. So we had part of it. It's prioritized. Well, of course, it's really to get more of the units to a higher level of readiness, to be able to use the units here and now, not tomorrow, not in 3 months or 6 months, more like here and now. That's one of the focus. When it comes to equipment, it's mostly would be the basics for the soldiers, for the sailors, personal equipment to be able to fight on a personal, individual level, and also in a unit. So that part of it. Then there are some sophisticated systems, of course. A medium-range ground-to-air system is highly prioritized. You know, a new fighter system is coming in, new submarines, so on and so forth.
Surface force as well, right? There are going to be a new surface ship program as well.
A surface like a corvette.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have the Visby corvettes, but again, we are always try to look for the future to be relevant even over there. But right now we have the Visby class corvettes.
Let me ask you about exercises. Once upon a time, Sweden had a very extensive, not only established base structure, then you had your war bases, then you also had road bases in the case of the Air Force. There's been a very big shift from spending 20 years focused outwardly to now much more of a territorial defense mission. It's a two-part question. First, Swedes may have grumbled, but we're very used to seeing exercises and being deployed all over the country. Talk to us about the mindset difference that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from a recruiting basis, you know, it may not be as exciting for a Swede to be told that you're going to go to the north of the country or the south of the country or over to a distant base. That's the first question. The second question is, what about the population? You know, some people now grumble at the thought that, you know, there are going to be training exercises, there are going to be jets that are going to be landing in bases. How are you working this both from a recruitment standpoint, but also then from a broader societal standpoint, that people just aren't used to having jets come and land in their backyard the way they used to?
Wow, this is an hour. So be prepared. Now I will try to put it together. In 10 years, we went from being a total domestic defense, speaking Swedish, flying on meters and kilometers an hour, and yeah, the command language was Swedish. We turned that around to be able to do international operations, not only in UN and peacekeeping operations, but others as well. We did that. We are now, I would say, interoperable. We train, we exercise, and we fight together with all the partners all over the world, and we fit. Now we need to go back. And why? Because of what is happening. The security situation really calls for a renewed national defense, but it's not the national defense as we had before. There are things that are the same. We need to take the good things, what we know, but it's not about having 20 wartime bases again. We could never afford that. They are gone. But we realize, as an example, to disperse assets, not least flying assets, it's a good way of protecting yourself. So we look upon that, but it's not to build a lot of new bases, it's more to use the ones we have. Road bases again, the Gripen is great for that. We don't have the volumes in people anymore, so the base system, I mean, when it comes to people and how we work, needs to be something else. We try to develop that. Recruiting, in order to be able to go abroad, we rested the conscript law, if I may, and we started to hire full-time duty soldiers and sailors to be able to send them abroad. Now we realize that we need maybe a more flexible system. Now everything would be on volunteer basis. There are challenges to find enough. There are challenges to keep the soldiers and the sailors. And the good thing is that it's a government survey going on, and I expect the result coming up next month. And I do believe We look upon a system maybe like the Norwegians or the Danes with a combination to get as much people in as we need, and also to be able then to keep them as soldiers, sailors, as NCOs, but also to recruit officers for officer training. So it's a variety of things. I also would like to mention the total defense system, meaning that the defense of this country, that's a responsibility for the whole society. It's not only for the defense forces. We need support from other parts of the society to be able to solve and carry out the mission.
And is it a challenge at all? Do you believe that the public is going to be understanding? Because Swedish friends of mine have told me, well, you know, people aren't as comfortable with training exercises that end up in their backyard, for example, the way they used to. Is that a challenge at all?
Well, I would say the awareness of what is happening around us right now makes also people being more understanding towards us, and it's no doubt that the population in Sweden, they understand we need a defense. We need a defense, a strong defense, and we need to be able to work with others, with partners.
And one last question about those partners. Regional cooperation is very, very important. How much time are you spending now with your Nordic counterparts, but also Baltic counterparts and European counterparts to improve relations, but also think strategically about how you work together in the future?
We meet on a frequent basis. I mean, the Nordic countries, of course, I will meet them tomorrow, as an example. We do that a few times a year. I meet the Baltics also only bilateral or trilateral or in the contacts with the Nordics and the Baltics. Finland goes first, and we take the cooperation with Finland further than with others. It goes beyond peacetime. It goes all the way to higher readiness to wartime scenarios. We plan together, and we try to take it as far as we can. So this is important to us, absolutely.
Sir, thanks very much for spending some time with us.
Well, thank you very much.